7:60.
Now it is live.
Okay.
3 minutes to go.
My days are down and darkness, my dreams are shattered away. My days are drowned in darkness, my dreams are shattered away. Never feel I'm all alone, so lend your hands to save me. My days are drowned in darkness, my dreams are shattered away. My success is my handwriting. My success is my handwriting. My success is my handwriting. My success is my handwriting.
All the theaters present here would like to extend a
So very good evening. Let us start with a 10-second silence prayer. Welcome back. Today we have Jayashree Venkatraman as our moderator. She's a principal and academic director for SNBP World School Pune, and she's a zonal director, a strong zonal director of our Pune region, CAR zonal director, Pune region. Ma'am has recently published a book. I believe this will be the first of this kind, Ananda series. It's related with NEP. She has released this book for first and second standard. Now it's published by GMAX Publications. I proudly, with happiness, welcome our Jayashree Venkatraman ma'am to moderate the program. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sreesan. My humble pranams to everyone present here. I welcome each and every one of you to the 7th of our NEP Master webinar series organized by CEIR, the Center for Educational Initiatives and Research Trust Global. Center for Educational Initiatives and Research, CEIR, as you all know, is a forum of experts and scholars who aim at nourishing talents of educators and to raise the education sector in India to global standards. CEIR has an efficient board of directors, zonal directors, premium members all over the country and abroad. Since the year 2009, CEIR has been conducting a series of programs for students, teachers, principals, members of school management. Principals Conclave have been conducted in many cities in South India. Campus Connect program and Pathways Career Counseling sessions for students are other remarkable initiatives by CEIR. The pandemic saw CEIR conducting as many as 49 virtual workshops for principals and teachers, 23 handwriting made easy programs, and 7 career guidance programs for students. An interaction with the controller of examination, CBSE, Sri Sayam Bharadwaj, has been planned on 27th of February for principals and vice principals of Dubai zone. Good handwriting and bad handwriting is a myth. There is only trained and untrained handwriting, says Dr. Sreesan, the founder of CEIR. In order to achieve the objective of enhancing students' hand, CEIR has initiated handwriting training for teachers and students. On popular demand, a training for teachers is again scheduled for handwriting trainers on 28th of February at 4:30. For details, you may please contact or send a mail to contact@ceirglobal.com. We feel proud to share that CEIR pioneered in conducting the national level quiz competition on NEP 2020 in the month of December, which saw more than 3,000 participants. Mr. Anurag Tripathi, Secretary, CBSE, and other dignitaries from CBSE participated in the award function. We are very, very happy to announce that CBSE also launched a similar program for teachers and principals, the NEP quiz. We are extremely delighted to announce that CEIR plans to honor outstanding schools with the CEIR, the Mark of Excellence Awards from this year. The main eligibility criteria is that the nominee school should be a CEIR premium member school. Please note, CEIR premium membership for teachers and school does not have any membership fee. For membership and more information, please visit www.ceirglobal.com and join our Facebook page for updates on all the activities of CEIR. The topic for the day is efficient resourcing and effective governance through school complexes and clusters. This national education policy, released almost 34 years after the last reform in 1986, has been the most discussed topic across the globe. India is the youngest country of the world, and the workforce of the globe is being nurtured in Indian schools of today. No wonder the national education policy aims at revolutionizing education so as to enable and make the young generation ready for the global reach. Our NEP Masterclass webinars was inaugurated on 2nd of February by the Secretary of CBSE, Sri Anurag Tripathi sir, and we are today on the 7th. We shall be having one more webinar to go live on 27th February. And it shall give us it gives us a lot of gratification to see full attendance in all these webinars and receive excellent positive feedback. A committed and dedicated team of CEIR under the leadership of Mrs. Vijayam Karta, one of our zonal directors and the founder trustee of Kerala Public School, Jamshedpur, is working behind the scenes for the success of these events. None can motivate you but yourself. These are the words of a self-made woman, Dr. Vijayam Ravi, the speaker of the day. Let us give a big round of applause to Dr. Vijayam Ravi. Stepping out of a small village in Thrissur, Kerala, she carried her companions like sincerity, perseverance, commitment, along to transform the world of education. Inspired by her grandfather, who was a teacher and highly respected, she started teaching at the age of 22. Driven by the vision of doing better for field, Dr. Vijayam Ravi then commenced her boundless trip of acquiring knowledge. In this pursuit, she has continued remaining a student, learning from her experiences and making observations, and learning all through. She believes education makes a person discover himself. Thus, the role of a teacher is vital in sculpting the future of the generation. One sees the twinkle in her eyes as she says, "I love children." Having played varied roles as teacher, head of department, principal, administrator, director, chairman, trustee of 34 years of this journey, Dr. Vijayam Ravi felt the lacuna in the growth of education is born purely out of inadequate leadership and lack of good governance, which led her to study the subject of leadership in depth and acquiring a PhD in this subject. She strongly believes in walking behind a people and guiding them to grow rather than making people follow. Thus preaches a great leader walks behind the people. She consistently has been following the mantra of humility, unremitting devotion, together forming a ladder to progress. Today, she considers education as chaste as a religion and wishes to propagate it as an educational evangelist. Above all, she emphasizes on being a good human being and the qualities of love, truth, tolerance. And thus says, think big, live simple. Thank you so much, ma'am, for agreeing to be part of this August gathering. It is indeed an honor to have you amidst us. A very, very big round of applause to Dr. Vijayam Ravi, the speaker of the day.
Namaste.
As we listen to her, I request the participants to please mute their audios and keep their videos on. Share their questions on the chat box. Please note those who wish to receive a certificate should have by now sent their feedback forms, and then certificate shall be made available on the website maybe by second week of March. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So, namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Thank you, Jayashree. That was a bit too long, but I know how much excited you were. Maybe we are seeing each other after a long time. It could be the reason. And thank you so much, Dr. Sreesan. This was a very good thought that you started.
Thank you very much.
Vijayam Karta and several others behind this beautiful, beautiful concept, need of the hour. And I am so very thrilled to see that when I look at the participant list, it has crossed over 1,000. That is something really great, beautiful, wonderful. I'm so glad that I could be part and parcel of this big program. Thanks to Dr. Suresh, Dr. Vijayam, and all the others who have wanted me to be part of this program. Thank you so much. The topic is efficient resourcing. You know very well, this is the 7th chapter of the draft of NEP. And if I had been doing this NEP program through HarperCollins for almost 19 programs I have done so far on NEP, where the principals have usually been very, very concerned about where the chapters number 1, where the early childhood education and the foundational literacy and numeracy, that part was taken. And they were worried about the 4th chapter. 4th chapter is about integrated teaching, then experiential learning and multilingualism and several other things. And also chapter 5, which talks about teachers. They were all very concerned because that very much affects individual schools. So they really wanted to know more about it so that they don't make any mistakes. The teachers were keen, the principals were keen. I understand that. But usually chapters like this and the chapter 3 or so, I don't know exactly which it is, where it talks about universal access to education, governance, effective resourcing and effective governance through school clusters are actually larger than individual schools. It encompasses a national picture. Therefore, this is something which probably may be taken at a larger interest by all the individual schools, because they all are forming or contributing to the national welfare, and all children are equal to all principles. I am 100% sure about it. So let us see how I want to do this program. This is actually, I would be talking about what the government wants to do with this, that is the central government. And I would also end up by saying how, as individual schools, all of us are, how can we make use of this concept also to the betterment of our own institutions, and thereby become part and parcel of a larger community. So coming together is the meaning of cluster. It is also collaboration. It's all being together, and being together is a great feeling. We have all realized it during the pandemic last year, have taught us several great lessons, and it also taught us that we cannot live in isolation. So this is a great coming together. CEIR, also special mention to CEIR, because they have brought all the principles together. So we are all coming together. The next slide, please. Here in this chapter, I would want all the principals to remember these three terms. These are very, very essential, not from a national perspective alone, but also from the perspective of school governance. Effective resourcing, governance, and school complexes and clusters. These three terms are very, very important. Why? Because I tell you, effective resourcing is actually, you know very well, whenever we talk about resources, I know all of us consider material resources, human resources. These two are the aspects which come to our mind immediately, because that is what we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Material resources, the school, the infrastructure, the facilities, the learning aids, everything, all those material, the IT, everything is the material resource. Human resources, the teachers, the people who support us, the community behind it. So we always consider resources when it comes to as these two resources. I would now request you to expand resources into two terminologies: tangible resources, intangible resources. What we are talking here is not only tangible resources, we are also talking about intangible resources and the power of it. What are those intangible resources? Yes, material resources are tangible resources. You can see it, you can visualize it, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can use it. You have people resources, which is human resources. You can do, they are also tangible. But there are two things which are intangible resources. They are relations. And the second one, power. These two are the intangible resources which we normally, we do not give importance to it, though it is there in the back burner. Relationships are intangible for the simple reason that when we come together, the kind of being together, the kind of sharing and caring and teamwork and collaboration and getting together, that is something larger than the word itself. And we cannot even imagine the kind of knowledge sharing happens. But you cannot pinpoint and say, this is it, this is it, this is it. No, it's not possible. Relationships are great between schools, between principals, the networking of principals. CEIR itself is an intangible resource, bringing people together, bringing their thoughts together, being in the virtual medium, being in the cloud. They are bringing the people, it's relation. It's an intangible resource for you to acquire knowledge. Power. power, each one of you, the principal is the most powerful person in an educational scenario. I would consider that, because one signature of yours can make or break the future of a kid. We never do anything nonsensical. We do always great for the children, but everyone in the world knows that one simple signature of the principal on the transfer certificate of the kid makes all the difference to the child's life. You are so very powerful. When you are so very powerful, you also have a responsibility to come together, take your team along, realize your power, utilize those powers. So effective resourcing, when I mean to say, I would say utilizing the tangible, intangible resources in a most effective way. It is not only required for the national scenario, but it is also required for your own, our own schools. Okay, now comes governance. Now, when we are talking about governance, which is a very frequently used word in our country today, it was existing earlier, it is existing, it will exist. It's not a new terminology coined, but the importance is there. How do you want to conduct your school in the most ethical, organized way? Being very impartial, standing for right, differentiating good and bad, and standing for always the ethical principles. So that talks about the governance for schools. This is also applicable to individual schools. School complexes and clusters is particularly coined here to talk about all those schools. There are several schools in this country. They are no one's baby. Sometimes it happens. So Government of India decided that they should form a group. Now, believe me, this terminology of school complex or cluster also is not a new term. 1964 Kothari Commission has always mentioned about the need for formation of a cluster. Probably due to a long slumber, we did not realize it. We are coming to it now to understand it. Okay, so school complexes, joining of all schools, collaborating the school, there comes the relation, which is intangible, bringing them together in the form of a cluster. So these three terminologies, the resources and utilizing them effectively, governance and school complexes, are extremely important for all of you in the individual perspective as well as the national perspective. Next slide, please. Little statistics I have to give you. Now, we have all been growing up. As a teacher also, I've been listening to this SSA, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. This had been in the air for a long time. I have also addressed it several times. But what has happened is that Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan has shown brilliant results. There may have been lacunae, there may have been drawbacks in the system in spreading it to the larger areas, remote areas, but to a large extent, the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan was a great activity. And the SSS means now it is considered as Sarva Samagra Shiksha Scheme. That is how it is known right now. That is why it is written as SSS, Samagra Shiksha Scheme, which means education for all. There is no child who is left out. That could be one of the dreams of all of us, like sitting there as principals. No child left behind. That is the dream we have, and that had been achieved. Little statistics when we go into the evolution of this SSA and how it has ended up across this country is that right now, almost nearing 10%, equal access to education to almost all places, it is done. It is done. It is believed that the details of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, what it is showing here is that, the primary and elementary schools have access to education, and more schools have opened up. The Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, the aftermath of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan was that more and more schools have all opened up across the country. The only difficulty, the statistics shows that the primary and elementary school system, there only about 28% of those schools are having only 30 students or less than 30 students in a grade. That is the situation now, which means what? No students, not many students are left out. All are in. The schools are running with lesser student capacity. This is one issue. Primarily, this is happening between grades 1 to 5. That's what the government says. It also says nearly 14% of the schools have, that is what it is showing, 14.8% of the upper primary schools have got less than 30 students. So primary as well as upper primary schools have less than 30 students per grade. And also the average student strength in each class is becoming only 14 students in a class. Now, I would request you all to think about our own international boards, the so-called international board schools in our country. They all talk about we have 10 students, 15 students, etc. Here also, it has come to that extent. But having said that, the issues and the problems, what they are facing are different. Okay, what is the complexity involved in the system? That is the very important thing we have to say here. In 2016-17, one of the census taken about this education shows that about 108,017 schools had only one single teacher. 1,817 schools across the country has only one teacher across different levels, multi-levels of or multi-grade schools, but one single teacher. And also 85,743 of them were primary schools. We all know that primary school education is something which is very, very important for us in this country, because the growth of the children, the evolution of the child's personality happens from that age on. So most of these primary schools or upper primary schools have got single teacher. That is the biggest challenge the country is facing. Now, all of us sitting here, most of us belong to private schools, or some of you may be from government schools as well, or some of you may be doing really good schools, financially doing very good schools, but we cannot afford. My point is simple. We cannot afford to say we have not seen this, because we are part of this whole system. The pandemic has taught us last year that we have to be together. We have to take, if we are going ahead, we have to take the team also along. That is very, very important. The complexities also involved is that, before even talking about it, the issue what we are talking here is the primary school. How much we struggle to get a great teacher in the primary school. We all know that. To get a qualified teacher, to get a qualified and experienced, good, passionate principal, how difficult it is for the schools, we all know. We have been administrators too. So it is so very difficult for the primary schools also. I remember once when I was working in the corporate sector for Raymond Limited, principal of Singhania School long back, I have traveled to a remote area of Madhya Pradesh just to see whether the school, Raymond had a good presence there in Madhya Pradesh. So we wanted to know whether as a corporate we could do something towards lifting up the educational standards of those schools. So I happened to walk through, nearly roads were not there. We had to do all like how we all walked in the good old muddy roads of Kerala. We had to walk through it, get into the forest kind of a region, small schools, one single teacher, 5 or 6 classes. They all will be sitting. The teacher will be doing all multiple levels of classes at the same time. What kind of a quality this teacher can do to those children? And those children also come to the mainstream of work. Our children also come to the mainstream of work. Naturally, there will be a comparison between who's who, and our children will be very well established, and those children may not, they're not bad. They were denied great opportunities. Is it not our responsibility also, those private schools, to take them also along with us? This is something, a thought that I'm going to drop into the minds of all those great principals and teachers sitting here today to see what could be done. Another complexity which has happened with this is that these students of these schools, where 30 children are there or 14 children only are there, these schools are isolated. They're isolated from the mainstream. They don't have any access to library, laboratory. They don't have the access to ICT, which you yourself must have experienced. Some of those schools who come from remote area, they didn't have a facility for a internet facility or a phone or whatever. So you've experienced it. They were not accessible to anything. So operationally also, these schools were challenged. Functionally also, they were challenged because they were not having resources. Okay. And administratively also, they were challenged because they didn't have a structure. How will they form a structure? What kind of a structure they can form? These were all their difficulties. Okay. And also organizational setup of these institutions were also difficult. Extracurricular activities like art, craft, music, PE, any of those additional subjects which are today the 4th chapter of NEP makes it mandatory that they have to add all these things together while teaching. Now, when such a thing is happening, these subjects are not even taught because they didn't have teachers. Even we, some of us in the urban area or semi-urban area also face difficulties to get great teachers for these subjects. So think about those schools which have difficulty. So they had a lot of isolation happening, lack of functionality, all that. Okay. Now, the solutions, what the government of India is talking about is that by 2025, it is a standing instruction given to the states and the union territories that all these functional difficulties, operational difficulties, isolation factors, lack of administration, whatever you are talking about, all those must be done away with by 2025. So that is their goal. Okay, towards doing that, what they have said is that, they are suggesting that each of those schools, if there is any school like that in a remote area which is having this kind of a problem, what the government is stating today is that they have to appoint teachers, they have to appoint counselors. It would be done. The government is going to help you. The National Council for Teacher Education is going to come and help you there. They are going to help you with the curriculum development also, art, craft, music, PE, all that integrated system of education, science laboratories, ICT laboratories, all of these must be done. This is what they are talking to the state government and the union territories. This must be done according to them. And what they are suggesting, this is something which is leading to the cluster formation. What they are talking is, the government says, to do that, to have good number of teachers, experienced teachers, trained teachers, good curriculum, good laboratory, good library, good ICT, skilled setup, all that to have, you should have a group of schools together. If in a remote school, if you have or if it is an isolated school, you have few students only, then what the government is suggesting is club all of them. Club all of them. I remember very well talking about this clubbing of, I'm so proud of myself, let me say, about 7 years back, in one of those programs organized by the HRD, I was also suggesting the same thing, that those schools can club themselves together. And some schools will have math teacher, the other school will have English teacher, the other schools will have science teacher, social studies teacher, art, craft. It would be spread out. If these schools all come into a group structure, what will happen is that they can share the teachers, share their curriculum, share their art, craft activities, share their library, share their ICT system. So this grouping is what the government of India is asking the schools to do, the states to do. In fact, the State Department of School Education, DSE, is being guided by the government to do this particular job. All right. So and what they are also suggesting is that each school, now all of us know, each individual school like ours, each one of us have a school management committee, SMC we call it. And each management committee also has a school development plan. Agreed? We all have that. We all plan for next year. What is the kind of a development we need to like that? What the government says is that you plan. Each school in this cluster can have an SMC, a management committee. Each school can also plan what they wish to do, okay, about their teachers, about their training, about the curriculum, about the library, laboratory, ICT setup, everything they can plan. So within about 7 to 8 kilometers reach, if those schools are there, or let us say 10 kilometers reach, all those schools can come together. They can form a cluster. They can form a group which is called a school complex. Okay, then this school complex can have a school committee, for a complex planning committee, development committee, SCDC, you know, planning. SCDP, you can say school complex development planning. That can be formed for the entire group. If 10 schools are joined together, each 10 schools can have their own plan, and they can all merge together and find the common area where they can contribute, they can take also, they can share also, and their sharing of teachers also could happen, sharing of knowledge can happen, sharing, I mean, competitions, conducting competitions, collaboration, teamwork, training of teachers, all of these could happen. This is what they are talking about, cluster formation. Now, what the school board has to do is that the school board's Department of School Education would actually devolve itself of its responsibility, authority. Earlier, we all have a system where the government authority has the supreme power. For the first time in my educational practice, I'm seeing the government devolving its authority. And it is delegating the responsibility to the small clusters, each cluster, and also block education offices, BEOs. And these BEOs and school clusters will look into what is required for each school. Do you require a teacher? Do you require a curriculum? Do you require training? What is it that you require? So that the children get the best of all. I am saying this with my own experience. When I was teaching in the South, I was the +2 teacher for chemistry. So we had a good practice. It is not that I'm talking about from 40 years before. It is not the government told us to do anything. You know, each school will have brilliant mathematics teachers, brilliant chemistry, physics, English teachers. Okay. What we do is that we bring them together and we allow them to teach us. All of us will be sitting. The great people will be, previous slide. I have not come here. Just go back. I wanted to say that the group knowledge, the expertise of the teachers was available to all of us together, and we shared. For example, suppose I was teaching in 12th standard. I have a topic called chemical kinetics to teach the 12th standard. It involves mathematics, integral mathematics. I am good in mathematics, not that I am not good in. But what we used to do is that there is a great mathematics teacher there. That mathematics teacher was brought into the class, given the children the experience of why that integration required, why the rate of a reaction is important, and how that integral calculus is helping the teacher to do that. We were doing it within the school. Imagine a scenario, if it is extended, you have great teachers. This is where I am saying, I'm seeing the last, my last slide is the next one, please. How are you going to benefit, or how is the school complex system going to work? One is sharing and caring. All of you have seen that, how teachers can be shared, how their knowledge can be shared. Only thing is that the teachers either will have to travel to the complex, one of those complex units in the complexes, and same thing will happen. It is a share, mutual understanding between the school managements. Okay, I would here recommend most of you sitting here listening to me must be coming out from very great good backgrounds where your managements are extremely supportive. Some of your schools must be run by corporates too. Why don't you extend your helping hand in adopting these kind of school clusters and share your expertise, your great learning to those children who are otherwise deprived of such great learning? You say that you have student counseling. You mentioned about it. CEIR is doing it. So CEIR itself, there may be thousands of principals and thousands of teachers in this group who must be skilled in counseling those children. Such a program to these school clusters, like a PPP, a public-private partnership kind of an activity, would be my humble suggestion would be a PPP by those great schools in lifting those children who cannot otherwise get up. There are several children in our schools who are disabled or difficult children are there, who cannot, learning disabled children are there. Such children need great support. There are great gifted children. One of my recent information that I got from one of those schools where I consult is a remote school. It is a very, very remote school in Maharashtra. Those children are excellent, Marathi medium schools, excellent children in communication. Their oratory skills are marvelous. Why are we not able to bring them to the fore? There are great Marathi and Hindi and English teachers everywhere. Why don't we share and care? Why don't we lift the standards of those people? Think about it, my very dear principal. Think about effectiveness as a watchword. Now, when I say this, you don't have to feel bad about it, or you may think in your mind that we are all effective, we are doing great. You stop saying, no, that's not, my intention is not to interfere in your work, but effectiveness has different dimensions. Not the dimensions what you and me think of. Effectiveness as a dimension of reaching out also. Not by getting a popular award by some group or some government or somebody else. That is not effectiveness. That just shows that you exist. That's all. Beyond that, it doesn't give any kind of a meaning. Effectiveness comes when you are able to touch, when you are able to touch the lives of children, be it your children, be it others. This is something I would request you to seriously think about it. How can you collectively, in a collaborative mode, bring your effectiveness together, make a kind of a platform wherein that can be shared with people. Closing the knowledge, closing the expertise, what you have, is not going to help in the coming years, but sharing that knowledge is going to bring you to limelight. Think about it. Governance. You are all fortunately blessed by God to have great managements who have splendid techniques for governance. I would sincerely request you to share those great practices of strategy. I am doing some programs for schools where I'm doing how to make strategies for your vision document. So like that, you already must be having several strategies. Share it with great institutions, those schools or that school clusters. You, the principals who are excellent, they can go there, talk to them, motivate the children, motivate their teachers, bring them to your own school, collaborate, have a team. This is how this is going to help for you. Community outreach. This is something where I wanted to seriously impress upon this. Community outreach, as far as schools have understood it, is only like, if I understand, if I'm wrong, I would love to be corrected. Many schools think that community outreach is just reaching out to the parents or those who need help, going to some deprived economically or socially deprived group, helping them. This is not community outreach. Your own society, your own place, where locality, where your schools are located, has several communities. Need not be your own parent. It could be other schools, communities are there. The vendors are there. Your people outside in the work area, the industrial area, the corporate sectors, all those people form part of your community. Why? Because their children also come to your school. Therefore, your community outreach should be for a general well-being of a community and not for a particular year by year. If you collect money through a social service activity, develop it and give it to some people, this year, 2021, think about doing something towards this school cluster. Talk to your management, or if you are the management, take the help of people like CEIR and other such organizations. There are great people here take their help, reach to those clusters and see what way you can offer them help, what way you can also take help from them. That is also there. It is not that we are great all the time. Then the positive synergy. This is what I said, the relation. When like-minded people come together with an intention of helping someone without expecting anything in reward, anything in return, that is the time the positive synergy comes up in your mind and you become a brilliant leader. All of you are. So let those positive synergy come by being together, by bringing the relations together. And what the government of India says is that at the end of it, you have to have a Samajik Chetna celebration. Schools should celebrate. This is also my request. Most of the times, principals and teachers, we work very, very hard, but we don't know how to celebrate the happiness. We think that, okay, ये तो हमारा काम है, हमने काम किया, उसमें क्या है? It's not like that. Pat yourself on your shoulder. You have worked hard. Celebrate your success by sharing the great things with others. And these school clusters, through their governance, through their effective use of resources, would become a Samajik Chetna Kendra, where knowledge, it becomes lighthouse to the entire world. This is what the government is asking us to do. And I believe that our schools have a lot to contribute towards that. The next slide, please. What can all schools do? I have already explained to you. I am about to complete. Collaboration. I mentioned a PPP. If possible, take it up as a project for this year, that you are going to join hands with a cluster, or you are going to help the cluster formed, because the government will be now very open to suggestions. So you yourself can share your governance ideas to them. Partnership to raise the standards of teaching and learning. We also learn, they also learn. Sharing the best practices, I've mentioned, sharing the curricular and co-curricular practices. Probably the village schools would be better in co-curricular practices than all of us put together. We don't know, maybe being a part of the larger society. If we wish to be good, we have to make sure that the others also must be good. I end up by saying a small story that there was this you must have seen it several times. It has come up in the WhatsApp group also. There was a farmer who was awarded as the best cultivator of the year award. So the press journalists were asking, what is the secret of your success? Every year you had been winning this award without any difficulty. What is the reason for it? He said, I share my best seeds to all my neighbors. They were stunned. They asked, how can this happen? Because then they also will grow great things. He said, no, it's not that way. If they grow sub-quality seeds, then due to pollination, cross-pollination, the wrong things will come and sit on my cultivation, and my thing also will be spoiled. I will not be able to produce good cultivation. So if I have to be good, I have to make sure that my neighbors, my surroundings are also good. Good things should happen to them also. And that is the success of my award, how I am getting this award. You are all great schools. And if you want to sustain that, you are not maintenance engineers. My very dear principals and teachers, you are no more maintenance engineers. You are sustenance engineers. If sustaining is your responsibility, then share the best practices with the others, take them along. Good governance should be like air. Its existence need not be discussed, but its absence would make a huge difference. If there is bad governance or absence of governance, that would be the time we all will feel the pinch. Thank you very much for inviting me to this program. Thank you. God bless you all.
Great, excellent.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vijay ma'am. It was
you.
such an enchanting session. The very, very beautiful takeaway was excellence can never be celebrated in isolation.
Exactly.
To be together. So I think, and about schools being a place for celebration, it was amazing. I think it was also about the best takeaway as school educators is creating a harmonious society.
Exactly.
What better message when you do a sharing of resource like this? I think the very, very complex topic of the kind that was given to you, you made it sound so simple. Thank you so much, Vijay ma'am.
Thank you.
We have eminent panelists today here with us. Miss Mary Shanti Priya, Principal of Vista School, Telangana. She is also the Zonal Director of CEIR, Telangana. And she's accompanied by Miss Rita Tanuja, Principal of DPS Jaipur, CEIR Zonal Director, Jaipur. So they would actually share with you some questions that have been posted. So may I request Mary ma'am to raise some important questions from the chat box?
Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. Good evening, Vijay ma'am. It was
Good
a
evening.
pleasure listening to you.
Thank
It was
you.
indeed a great learning experience, especially for us youngsters who have got into the role of principal, I would say that.
Thank you.
So there's a first question from Mrs. Dipali Mishra ma'am.
Mhm.
The question says that, does implementing school cluster policy mean that some of the schools which cannot afford financially will have to shut down or close down?
No, the government is saying the school clusters will be able to share resources, which also includes helping financially. It's not about materials alone. Financial help also is possible from the school cluster, and Government of India is also going to help you. They don't have to shut down.
Right, ma'am. I think that has answered the question, ma'am. Connecting with the same thing, Rita ma'am, I will finish this question. I think post that you can take it over. There's a question from Pallavi ma'am,
Yes.
which says that, will the government help us in taking such kind of initiative? Like building in
100%.
the infrastructure which are
Yes.
needed for activity classes.
Yes, 100% the government also will help. And not only that, the government is going to help you even in developing your curriculum if you require, or they have given the freedom to the school clusters to do it. You don't have to now, like how before, you don't have to look for anybody else. If the clusters decide, the managing committee of the cluster can take decisions and get things done for themselves. The help will be given by the block education officer, which means the government.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think Rita ma'am, you can ask the next question.
Good evening, Dr. Vijay.
Good evening.
Beautiful, amazing session. I think everybody is enthralled by the way you have presented such a complex topic. Mr. Hanumant Deshmukh, one of the participants, has asked a question, and it is very, it is a thought-provoking question, that sometimes the schools are not willing to share ideas, opinions, resources, and they don't want to include themselves in the clusters. Even with the Sahodayas, we find some people are very unwilling to share their ideas and share resources. And now with the clusters, especially the private and the government schools. So what initiative should a school take to involve others and be a part of an active collaboration?
Hanuman, this is a brilliant question and very close to my heart also. I have seen this, Rita. Most of the principals, or at least some of them whom I know, they keep everything to themselves. They don't share. I've seen that happening. So it is not something new, but for which the NEP itself has given you an answer. In your previous chapters 4 or 5, they have very clearly stated, and you have a chapter, I think it is the 8th chapter, probably you will be discussing it in the coming days. There is something called a quality norm parameters for schools. And if schools do not do, and the parameters for schools being great schools or rated as good schools or bad schools or medium good schools, there are certain parameters the government is going to give. Usme ye sab aayega. So sharing and caring is going to become part and parcel and mandatory for the schools to do. And they are also asking the schools to transparently put it onto the website. Whatever you are doing, how your children are proceeding, how your teachers are doing, what kind of teachers you have appointed, all these are to be presented through website in a very transparent way. So if you want to be in the game, you have to participate in that. If you don't want to be in the game, you be a spectator and very well you will be washed out. That's a simple message the schools will get.
Thank you very much, ma'am. There's another question which is closely related to it. Mrs. Asha Sharma has asked that whom can we contact to get involved and share good practices with the cluster of schools?
The block education officer. This you can actually speaking, Department of School Education is in charge each state. Okay. So they have actually dissolved it, delegated the responsibilities to the block education officers. So at the lower level, if you go to the Zilla Parishad of those schools, they will be able to give you the details and you can get in touch with them. As a school, if you go, it would be having much more impact than an individual because they will immediately absorb your understanding. Correct? And so the block education officers will help you. The Zilla Parishad Adhikari also will be able to help you.
Thank you, ma'am. So the Jaipur, the Sahodeyas and the HOL will continue to work, function under the clusters also, ma'am?
Yes, it can be. It can be.
So they will form an integral
part of it. You know, not all schools are in the semi-urban and urban area. There are several schools in the rural area. And those Sahodaya schools also, many of your CBSE schools which are in the remote area may not be able to participate in your Sahodaya conferences. Isn't it? Due to distance, due to travel, due to financial crisis in their school, because the schools may not be able to give them the to and fro fare for them to travel, their stay, etc., etc. So it would be my humble request if the Sahodaya conferences, which are usually organized in large cities, if they move out of that large cities and move towards a remote area and make all those participants also become part and parcel of it. That would be a great thing which you can do. Because for us in the city area, it's not a problem for us at all to travel. For them, it is a problem. So those, maybe those rural schools, CBSE schools or Sahodaya schools in those areas can also form a cluster, small cluster, and they can affiliate to the major regional Sahodaya groups. Possible.
So, ma'am, the information to every school will be given by government as to what
yes.
part of which cluster?
Your state government will issue notifications to you. The government will give to the state will issue, or the union territory will give you the details.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very, very informative. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Great.
Vijay, ma'am, I have another question over here, ma'am.
Yes.
The question is, CBSE has come up with good initiatives, like they've started the Learning Hub. I'm sure all the schools which are from the CBSE will be knowing about this. But somewhere the Learning Hub started with a very big bang. And yeah, we were able to get into orientation where the principals were called in and we were able to group up and we were able to connect to the schools which are part of the hub. But post that, somewhere it got weeded off, ma'am. The essence is lost. Can we look into as to how these things the government can reinforce? Or is there any suggestions on this which can, you know, what has been initiated is for a longer run, for a more effective and a constructive purpose, ma'am?
It is possible, very much possible. You know, remember one thing, CBSE or the government can give you only instructions. Implementation depends on the principals. So you have the CBSE clusters already, which is a Sahodaya group. If the Sahodaya groups can take up this responsibility of Sahodayas are usually regional, isn't it? Regional group.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if the regional groups, one of the solutions that I can suggest to you is that if the regional groups can, small pockets of clusters can be formed in those areas, and 5 or 6 schools like that in each region they are forming, and those learning hubs which you are talking about, for which the guidance has been given, which also started with a big bang, can be defined very clearly within that small structure. Okay, and the governance rules also being put up, and then the central Sahodaya, the regional Sahodaya, takes up the total responsibility of taking the learning.
Right, ma'am.
That is
Ma'am,
the
again, it is a level of policy, correct, ma'am? If I'm not wrong, check me if I'm wrong, ma'am. Isn't it the level of the policy makers to make these ground rules or guidelines very stringent and come where kind of a, check where it has been implemented, executed effectively?
Repeat it. I didn't get you.
We are talking about this taken up by the Sahodayas, right, ma'am, at the regional level. What my thought is, isn't it the norm which should be laid by the policy makers?
Yes, policy
Whoever has
makers are the
implemented.
government. They have
Right.
already given you guidelines.
Correct, which should be checked also for the effectiveness.
Yes,
What-
they have it. They have it. That is where I said the PARAK, the agency which has been autonomous body, which has been set up by the government, which will be looking into all these as a necessity, a mandatory thing for the government.
Okay, ma'am. There is another question, ma'am, in the chat box. One of the participants has mentioned, will this mean that all the curriculums will be blended together, which is the CBSE?
Yes,
ICSE, and the SSC?
it is not blended. Individual freedom is given to all the schools, but they have to form a Lakshman Rekha of the national curricular framework. What the government talks about, the general guidelines need to be maintained. Within that, you can do all what you want to do.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, with all due respect and your permission, I would like to share a small initiative which we have taken it, keeping this in mind and when connect with, extending our support, especially when it comes to reaching out to the community.
Okay.
So a small initiative which we have taken at Hyderabad is, I'm sure quite many schools must have already done this too. The government schools, yes, they are government schools supported by the government bodies. But unfortunately, our government schools are not really supported with the kind of, be it the infrastructural facilities or be it the faculty facilities. So as a school, we have taken up this ownership of the school which is close by to us. Again, I wouldn't say a big word of adoption. That's quite a big word. So we've taken the initiative of helping out that school, those children, when it comes to language skills, especially when it comes to English, because they had one faculty who teaches all the subjects. And the faculty is only specialized in teaching social science, not English language as such. So that is where we felt we can contribute. So we have gone in for that. And second, we've also sent in our, as you said, it's very difficult to get a good music teacher, to get a good art teacher. So we have, fortunately, our school is very fortunate to have a very good music teacher. So we extend our resource of a music teacher even to the government school, where we send the teacher to the school so that the children are trained. And not only that, we involve them into our annual day programs.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent.
So even the children's day, when it is there, our PTs go and conduct sports activities for the children, along with the goodies, whatever we give. But those who win the prize, they are called for our annual event. They are appreciated, awarded in front of our parental fraternity too. And they compete with our children. So even at times, their children do much better.
Excellent, Mary. This is how it has to start. This is going to give you the taste of success.
Thank you,
This is
ma'am.
great, wonderful. This is the meaning of cluster. This is the meaning of public-private partnership. Exactly. Sharing, caring. Very good. I'm so glad about it.
And one more question, ma'am. Now CBSE is coming about skill-based education.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm actually working towards that. I don't know how each one perceives what skill is exactly. According to me, I would say that skill would be, even if a child is passed out from 10, should be equipped to have
Yes.
some kind of means of earning.
Earning. Correct.
Or at least should become self-reliant, self-sustenant.
Yes.
So keeping this in mind, my thought was to start in a skill subjects related to electricals, plumbing and stuff, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. You can do that. You can do
But
that.
again, I'm finding really difficult to
get people.
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am.
I have a
Neither
solution for it.
organization.
I have a
Yes.
solution for it.
Please,
You
ma'am.
have in your area, if you have the ITI,
Yes.
ITI people are all diploma courses are conducted there. Those
Right.
people normally have classes till 3 o'clock only.
Right.
And they are free. I have done it in Singania school. So I am telling you that we had a rehabilitation center I started. So the rag pickers and the street boys who were helpless, wandering without a job or without any purpose in life, we collected them, 120 of them, and we kept 4 trades like air conditioning, electrical things and plumbing, etc., etc. Car tire retreading, all that we taught. To teach all these things, we never had a teacher. So we approached the ITI. So after 3 o'clock, they all will be free and they all came to the school and they taught these children 3 months, 6 months like that. So approach your nearby ITI. They will be willingly coming forward to help you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I actually was racking my head for this. I've approached quite a lot of universities also because I have parents coming from that, but couldn't get a good response on this.
Yeah,
I
thank
hope-
you so much.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. May I
Thank
now
you.
request Rita ma'am to kind of share as to how to implement vocational education from grade 6 to 8. I'm sure she has some very good practices that are getting followed and maybe it could get vetted by ma'am. Please, over to Rita ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, as we are talking about NEP and how vocational education can be implemented from the class 6 to 8, I think that somehow the social stigma that has been attached to the vocational education in the schools can be done away with if we have an integrated SUPW program in our schools. I, for one, coming from Jaipur, Rajasthan, have the opportunity of having hand block printing around our school. So we have been very consistently engaging our children in learning how the hand block printing can be developed as an occupation, later on as a vocation. The trick is, in our school, what we have done is we have consisted over many years to do the same program so the children become well aware of that as an alternate vocation. Not only this, as coming from Jaipur, a land of handicrafts, lot of things that we have done, the paper mache industry, handmade paper, and we have done blue pottery. We have tried to integrate these into our SUPW programs and the club activities, giving our children a very, very engaging SUPW period and also offering some knowledge of the vocations. As NEP talks so much in detail about making the vocational education a part on parcel of our education and having some skill development programs, our school has been doing this and it is highly recognized also, and children also get an opportunity to learn something beyond the curriculum and have art integration. So I really wanted to share this because just looking down upon SUPW as wastage of time or just giving a grade, we can integrate some useful programs where the resources and the resource people are available in our local regions, so that we do not put any budgetary constraints upon our school. Still, we are able to get trained people to handhold our children and integrate vocation into our regular curriculum. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me the opportunity and sharing the best practices.
Jayashree ma'am, I request Vijay ma'am can also share something.
Yes, sir, please.
Vijay ma'am, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so happy to listen to you, Vijayam, as usual, and the panelists and JC, wonderful job. So I just continuing from where Rita stopped. I thought I would like to share some of the best practices which we had in our schools. In the early 90s, same thing with Supu. People used to say it is some useful periods wasted. That is the full form of Supu. So we converted it into hobby classes. We used to offer around 26 hobbies, right from debate, drama, etc., to cutting and tailoring, painting, craft, motor binding, cookery. Like there were 26 hobbies, and students had the full freedom to opt for any hobby of their liking. And every year they can change the hobbies. It created a lot of happiness in the schools, and children could show off their latent talents. And the dance, music, instruments and all, we had tied up with this Prachin Kala Kendra from Chandigarh. So within 5 years, by the time the children pass out of standard 10, at that point of time we had 10, then we got our +2 affiliation. So along with their standard 10 certificates, they used to graduate in Kathak dance or classical music, etc. I think this is something which we can all think of, and people always worry, where will the money come from to pay the experts? Because if we want to start fashion designing as a course, where can we pay that sort of money? So what we used to do, we have 5-6 schools, so we used to share the same teachers. So we used to plan some sort of a form of cluster was there even in the 90s with our schools. So 5-6 schools, we used to share the same teachers. So we will plan at the beginning of the academic session, Monday, this teacher will be in this school, Tuesday in the second school, and maybe for that entire day, the teacher can be there or half day, etc. Not only with vocational education, even for subjects like those days, it was difficult to get good teachers in physics, math and all. So what we used to do, we used to share the same teachers. Again, we will plan the timetable in such a way that all these schools are benefited and there is no disruption. So I think NEP has shown us a beautiful ways of collaborating, and they are sort of insisting. And I think we grow, as Dr. Vijayam Ravi correctly said, we grow better when we share and care. And that is the experience I had. The more you give, the more you get. That also goes without saying. And nobody has become poorer by sharing resources or best practices. Rather, we have become richer because we are winning hearts, we are winning people. And more schools are benefited. And I think ultimately as teachers, what should be our aim? Should it be to ensure that my students from my school should excel, or as a principal or as a teacher, my dream, my vision is to ensure that all children thrive, all children prosper, all children become successful. I still don't, but I would like to end with one of the practices which we used to have even before our board exams, and even every exam. I used to tell our children, when you are offering the prayer, let's offer the prayer for all the students who are taking this exam on this day, in any part of the world, like even the Gulf countries, we have CBSE, IC schools and all. So I feel as teachers and as educators, it's our job to help people widen their mental horizons and hold each other's hands and grow up together and and create a better society, a more compassionate and a happier society. This can happen in a big way through collaboration. And what Dr. Vijayam Ravi again had talked about, reaching out to government schools. We also did in the 90s, we used to conduct training programs for government schools through Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. We used to have collaboration with rural schools. We used to have collaboration with tribal schools. And we are not giving, as again Dr. Vijayam said, most of the time we are benefiting because they teach us precious lives of lessons. And their culture, their lifestyles really sort of, influence our children in a big way, especially the ones who come from, the urban setting. And recently we have started another 2 projects we are in the offing. One is a urban rural connect, trying to connect rural schools with an urban school. Plus, we are also thinking about, city level collaboration of schools coming together to plan their calendars, to plan their vocational education, skill sharing, resource sharing, etc. Thank you so much for listening to me. Over to you, Jayashree. Maybe if somebody else has got some questions. for
Yeah,
Dr.
thank you
Vijayam.
so much, Vijay ma'am. I think
2
this
minutes to go,
reminds me
actually. 2
of a
minutes.
very sagacious saying in Sanskrit, Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. We always bless others. By default, we get blessed. So I suppose that is precisely what it has been. And CEIR has been doing an amazing work in reaching this kind of best practices that are happening across. So very, very nice to hear the panelists today, Vijayam ma'am today, and Dr. Vijayam Ravi. So I request all the participants to fill up the feedback form. And also a gentle reminder to our valuable audience for our next session by Mr. Anil Swarup on standard setting and accreditation for school education. Anil Swarup sir is an Indian author and a retired IAS service officer of Uttar Pradesh cadre of 1981. Mr. Swarup, in 38 years of his career, has served in various capacities and went on to become the Secretary to the Government of India. Stay tuned to be part of yet another exemplary, enriching session with CEIR the coming Saturday. Before we conclude, I request Shri A.P. Sharma sir, Principal, Birla Public School, to make his concluding remark. He is also the Zonal Director of Qatar. So I request sir to kind of give his concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jayashree ma'am. And as Vijay ma'am said, let us celebrate. So this is the occasion of celebration. A great session, Dr. Vijay ma'am, and really I got benefited. I would like to share that I'm in the NEP committee for a state of India, as well as in one of the union territory. We are preparing for NEP since August. And your views were really very useful. So thank you very much, Dr. Vijayam. It was really insightful and a beautiful session, and it was a learning for all. And basically what you talked about, having said that we should celebrate, and actually we should celebrate together, and we should share things. And it is very interesting that I was principal in South Delhi school. And we were having 2 beautiful projects. One project was Project Naman, in which we reached out to all senior citizens nearby our school, and 5 children were attached to every senior citizens, and we used to call them for our program, all the programs, and they used to celebrate New Year, Christmas, everything with our students. And then our students on every Thursday used to go to their houses, and they were not taking anything to eat, but to share some time, so that those who are lonely people, they can really enjoy, and they can have something good to share. So it was a wonderful session. My sincere thanks to all the esteemed board of directors and zonal directors, premium members as well. A special thanks to Dr. Srishan Gopinath, who had been very regular in all the webinars, and his contribution and creativity we have seen in every presentation. Moderator, Ms. Jayashree Venkatraman, the whole program, the way you started and just pinned up everything in a row, like a garland. It was really remarkable. The panelists, Ms. Shanti Priya and Ms. Rita Taneja, and a special thank to all the participants. So the moderator asked wonderful questions, and of course, the participants who made this program very successful. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead. Good evening to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best. All the participants, wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vijay ma'am.
Thank you. Thank